Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Eastep with Hit the Mat Productions. We're here with a very famous Madison County, and not only Madison County, but all of the state of Indiana, head wrestling coach of Pendleton Heights, Mr. Dave Cloud, a Hall of Fame member.
Yeah.
And Dave, tell a little bit about how you came to be from high school to the Hall of Fame, how that all came about. I know that's a chunk of story there, but
It is. It's a long time.
I'll let you tell the story.
Well, I went to school here. I wrestled for a Hall of Fame coach, George King, was my head coach. And then I wrestled for Jeff Webster. George retired after my sophomore year, and I wrestled my last 2 years, my 2 varsity years, for Coach Webster. He became a good friend, eventually assistant coach for me. I still stay in touch with him. Coach King passed away, unfortunately, but got a good grounding in just the way to do things and the way to run a program that's respected from those guys. Went to college, fully intent on going into marketing. That was my original degree, was in marketing, sales, and promotion. And I started working for the Better Business Bureau over at Ball State. They had a student-run Better Business Bureau, and got to go to schools. That was part of my job. I was head of the promotions department, so I got to go to schools and talk about consumer issues and things like that. And I thought, man, I really enjoy going and spend time with the kids. And then my head high school football coach, John Broughton, said, listen, I need a middle school football coach. Are you interested? I said, yeah, I'd like to try that. So I came and did that. Really enjoyed it back at our old middle school. And I started thinking, it's like, man, maybe this is what I really want to do, is work with kids. And as I neared the end of my senior year, John called and said, hey, they may have an opening at Pendleton. Coach Webster's thinking about retiring. And I talked to him. They said, well, we're really not interested. I ended up doing a 5th year at Ball State. And then Coach Broughton called me again and said, hey, I got some old connections down at South Dearborn High School, and they're looking for a wrestling coach who can teach business. Are you interested? I said, well, I'll go talk to him. And it was just one of those things where you're like, holy cow. I went down on a Wednesday. Friday, they called and said, hey, you want the job? And I think Tuesday I was down there teaching with no idea what I was doing, but learned on the fly. Spent a year down there, had a really good season, had a good time, enjoyed coaching. Standing in class one day, it was a newer school. South Dearborn High School was a newer school. It was built a little bit after ours. And my phone rang in my classroom. And so I picked up the phone, and he goes, Dave? I said, yeah. He goes, this is Lauren Skinner from Pendleton Heights. I said, hi, Lauren. What do you need? And he's like, well, I want to talk to you about coming up and applying for a job. I said, well, I'm kind of in the middle of class right now. Can I talk to you later? So I called him back, and he said, we'd like you to come interview. So I came up here and went through interviews. They were interviewing some other candidates, and they eventually called and said, would you like to have the job? And I said, yeah, I think I would like to have the job. So I came up here and took over after Coach Webster. Finally, he went ahead and retired that year before, and been in charge of the program ever since. That was 1985. It was my first year here. I got a taste of coaching wrestling when I was in college, coaching in Madison Heights High School. The school no longer exists. They were so impressed with what I did, they closed the school. But I really enjoyed working with the wrestlers there. We got a little bit better, and I thought, man, I think is what I want to do with my life. And I've been here 38. It's my 38th year at Pendleton. So just had the opportunity to work with some great people, great kids, a lot of great administrators, athletic directors, assistant coaches. And then, a couple years ago, got in the Hall of Fame. It's just one of those things, like, I think everybody on the committee owed me some money. So I told them, listen, you don't pay me back, just vote for me.
And congratulations for that, by the way.
It was awesome. It was great. I got the call from Rex Peckinpah, who's the former Newcastle coach and a really good friend. And so it meant a lot to get it from the call from somebody like that you know. And that he said, Dave, I got some news for you. I couldn't go to the meeting. I'm on the committee. And some came up, and Terry and I weren't available that weekend. And he said, hey, while you weren't there, we went ahead and voted in the Hall of Fame. So
congratulations.
Yeah.
Yep. And Coach, one thing that I'm impressed, I was here in '88, back in the dark ages. '88,
long time ago, wasn't it? We both had hair.
Yeah, teaching here, and your enthusiasm. I remember back when you were here, and your enthusiasm for wrestling, and obviously many years later for both of us, you still have that enthusiasm, if not more so, as I watched you on the sidelines tonight, and your love for wrestling. Tell us what motivates you to pursue this sport year after year.
I just love the sport, and I love what it stands for, and I love how it helps young people turn into adults, not only young boys but young girls. The growth of our women this season has just been amazing to see them struggle through. And I always think of a quote that I found years ago. I love quotes, and I found a quote from Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor. He's one of the 5 great Roman emperors, and he said, and this is like, right around 5 AD or whatever, way back. He said, life is more like wrestling than dancing.
Wow.
And it's like it is. You get knocked down, and sometimes you do everything right and you still lose, and you still got to get through. You know, bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. Like, why did that happen? It's like, that's life, you know?
Yes,
so I love that quote.
One of your wrestlers I interviewed out there mentioned that, what she was getting out of this for her life.
Yep.
Which I thought was outstanding. That's why we're here.
Yep. You know, Dan Gable said, you know, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy, which it's not easy, but, you know, you've been through suffering. You've chosen suffering, and you get through it, and it helps you deal with the difficulties of life. Life is hard. And wrestling's hard. And I think doing hard things, whatever sport it is, swimming's hard, my goodness. But doing hard things helps you get through the hard things in life.
Yes. And Coach, tell us about your season up to this point, and then we'll get into your match tonight against Brebeuf.
All right, well, we're 10-2 on the season now. We lost to Greenfield Central, and we lost to Hamilton Heights, so two pretty good teams. We felt like we could have done a little bit better against Greenfield, but it was a good match, good experience for us. They're intersectional. It gave us a marker of, like, here's what you're going to have to do if you want to advance out of our sectional. So we've had a good season. We won the Newcastle Super 6 last weekend, went 5-0. We won tonight to go 10-2 now. And so this weekend we'll be wrestling in our Arabian Super 6. Our goal is to win those matches, come into the county with some momentum, 15-2, I hope, if we can wrestle well. And it's been a good season so far. We don't have a real big group, but we love the work ethic of the guys we have. My assistant coach is doing a great job with them, and the kids they're doing what we're asking them to do.
And Coach, I didn't get the score tonight against Brebeuf. Do you remember what?
I think it was 54-24 was the final.
54-24, Pendleton.
A lot of falls.
Tell us a little bit about the match tonight. What stood out to you?
We wanted to get off the mat tonight since we wrestled Saturday. We wanted to get out, be aggressive, pin people, and get done. I thought we did a pretty good job of that. Still had some young guys, you know, our 126, our 120 pounder and our 13 pounder. You know, there's the old saying, you're either a winner or a learner in wrestling. So we did some learning tonight in a few of the weight classes. But I thought the kids wrestled pretty well. I'm really proud of the Brebeuf program. Coach Watkins is the guy who came in and really brought that program back from the dead. There were just a handful of kids in the program when he took over. He and I just started talking at clinics years ago, and he's just a very friendly guy. And he's like, hey, you know, what do you think about this? What can I do better on this? And I just started talking to him, and I always tell coaches when I talk, it's like, if you're not mentoring a young coach, why not? Why don't you want to help somebody be successful? And he's built that up from just a handful of kids now. He's got a full lineup. He's got one of the best young lady wrestlers in Indiana. His 138 pounders ranked second in the state. So he's doing a fantastic job. And just building that program, I'm just really proud of him and proud of what they're doing because he's doing things the right way, and just a friend and somebody that I've had a chance to work with.
And Coach, that brings us up to the final point. You know, wrestlers compete and coaches compete on the mat during the season very hard against each other. But when it comes right down to it, wrestling is really one big family, isn't it?
It is. It's a fraternity. It's a sorority. These people, you know, you want to knock them down and pin them on the mat. But you know, with what they were going through, they lost a wrestler last week, and so we talked. Corey and I talked. He said, "Would you mind doing a moment of silence and have his name?" I said, "Well, let's put his name in the lineup. Let's do it. Put his name in the face-off, and then we'll change it." And I think you saw the Brebeuf Brave Wrestlers brought his singlet out to the mat, which was hard.
Yes, and our thoughts and condolences go out to Brebeuf, the coaches and teams,
absolutely,
teammates and families, and
100%,
and certainly a class act that you and your program did tonight.
People did that for us when we lost a wrestler about a little more than a decade ago, and you just pay it forward, do it for people like that. So we were glad. And then I come over after the match. I said, hey, get out there and play with those battle balls a little bit. Have some fun. You know, it's been a rough week for them.
And we got that on video, Coach.
Yeah.
We'll have that on tonight.
Like all my great ideas, I stole that from somebody.
Yes.
I saw that at a match at Iowa. It's like, we're going to do that. So we had some great sponsors.
That is a very innovative idea, and I thought it was fun tonight. The crowd looked like they were having fun with it. The people in the balls out there certainly were having a blast, knocking each other around.
They did. They had a lot of fun doing it. We're going to do that at all of our home meets, and we're going to. We originally planned to bring in a couple squads from Brebeuf, their off-season squads. But with what they've been through, I said, you know what, we'll just do in-house. But we got Mount Vernon coming. I think we're going to have Mount Vernon baseball. We're hoping to have, and maybe their softball against our softball girls. So I'd like to hopefully do a faculty knockdown. I'm sure some of our students like to see our faculty members rolled across there. So we're going to use those every match. We're going to get our money's worth out of them. Our sponsors were very generous. Nice and Sisson Dentistry and Performance Group sponsored those for us to make it possible for us to buy those. So we were really appreciative that they helped us out with those.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time tonight. It's an honor to interview you for Hit the Mat. And we appreciate all you do for East Central Indiana Wrestling. Not only for Pendleton Heights, but what you do for wrestling in the area.
Thanks.
And without people like you, this sport would not be what it is.
Well, I had a lot of great mentors coming up when I was young. Don Patton from Delta kind of took me under his wing. I asked him for a couple questions. Could you give me some notes? He sent me his entire notebooks, like years worth of stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, Don. And Pete McNamara from Beach Grove and Phil Strader and just so many of the coaches stepped up and helped me for no reason. It's like, man, I got to pay that forward. So I've been lucky to be able to work with some young coaches, and it's a good feeling. It's a great life. I chose well.
Yes. Well, thank you, Coach, and we wish you the best throughout the rest of the year, and we'll probably be in touch before the season's over. And certainly a fun night here in Pendleton Heights.
Thanks a lot. Let's watch On the Mat.
Thank you, sir. Dave Cloud, everybody, head coach of the Pendleton Heights Arabians.